Hey now Deadheads, we are back again with another exciting vinyl release from the Grateful Dead and from Real Gone Music, and that is of course our second Dick's Picks release on vinyl this year from Real Gone, and that is the re-release of Dick's Picks Volume 3, and this is so much more than just a repressing. I'm really excited to show you what's inside this box and tell you why it's so special. So special to me, but should also be special to you. So let's get started with the hype sticker. So you can see it's a 4 LP set, 180 gram vinyl, the usual stuff for these Real Gone repressings of Dick's Picks. New master by Jeffrey Norman, and I think that's an important call out. The Brookvale versions of Dick's Picks 1, 2, and 3, and I think 4 were all just copies from the CD masters. So this has been newly remastered for vinyl. And they're pressed at Got a Groove Records. So very high quality pressing, very small run on these, 2,000 copies. Opening up the box, and before we actually even look inside the box, I want to call out this sticker. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but this Dick's Picks Volume 3 label is actually a sticker, and I'm curious what it's covering up. My hunch is that they made the same mistake that they made on Dick's Picks Volume 1, where the Picks has an apostrophe S at the end instead of the appropriate Dick's apostrophe S Picks with no apostrophe. But I'm not brave enough to take the sticker off to find out for myself. When we open things up a little bit further, you can see very typical of the Real Gone repressings of Dick's Picks. Single sheet liner notes, faithful to the original. So no essays here, no deeper liner notes, but staying faithful to the original CD release. And then we have a look at the vinyl. And so we have 4 LPs, like I said, really great inner sleeves. I love these ones that they used from Got a Groove. Very clean record, and the label, of course, for Dick's Picks Volume 3. One important thing to call out is that although it's 4 LPs, it is only 7 sides of music, and so very reflective, but you can see it is blank on that 8th side of this release. Finally, on the back of this, let me close things up. On the back of this, again, typical Ampex tape box motif that they used for the first 6 releases in the Dick's Picks series. They changed it up every 6 releases. So they had in total 6 different visual motifs, themes for the packaging. And so these first 6 are that Ampex tape box. And one additional call out, the caveat emptor on here is a little bit different from what was originally featured on the CD releases. Newly remastered from vinyl from the original tapes by Jeffrey Norman. And I gotta say, Jeffrey did a fantastic job on this one. Last thing to call out, these are all hand numbered, so it's not just an edition of 2000, but you can find out what number your pressing is within that edition of 2000. Now I mentioned the sticker covering up, where the Dick's Picks part of the label should be, where that part of the graphic should be. Let me show you for comparison the reissue of Dick's Picks Volume 1 from Real Gone with that apostrophe S on the Picks. My suspicion is that they might have made the same mistake here on Volume 3 with the apostrophe S. Now they didn't on Volume 2, so who knows? But that sticker remains a mystery to me. I'm also really excited to talk about the music that's on these 4 sides of vinyl. There's some definite standouts. First, they kick it off with Funiculi Funicula, which is that old Italian folk song to celebrate the opening of the first inclined railway, I believe. A small town in Italy wrote this song to celebrate their new railway, and it stuck for at least a century. It stuck with the Grateful Dead for a few years. During the mid-70s, they used that as sort of a tuning song. Always fun to hear. That and Beer Barrel Polka, I'm always excited to hear from the Dead as tuning songs. Early set 1 on this release, or at least simulated set 1, because it's not really the full show, here from the Sportatorium in Florida. I think the Sugaree on this is really nice. It really stands out. Some of them are good, some of them are great from this era, and I would say this is a great Sugaree. Music never stopped from this era, never disappoints. Side B, the Lazy Lightning and Supplication. I thought the instrument separation on Lazy Lightning, you didn't hear too much of Keith's piano, or at least I didn't feel like I did until it got into Supplication. And then it's beautiful. It really stands out, or at least on my stereo. Keith's playing on Supplication really stood out, and I enjoyed that. On the second LP, sides C and D, you get the Help, Slip, Franklin. Help and Slip are good on this, of course, you know, as they are from this era, but the Franklin's Tower really stood out for me for a really unique reason. And you see some people talk about this online, but not enough. That's that Keith is playing Foolish Heart about 10 years too early. And that's a Jerry song. You know, Keith wasn't in the band anymore when Foolish Heart came out, but he is playing essentially Jerry's riff from Foolish Heart on the keys during the jam in Franklin's Tower on this. A bit strange, a bit bizarre, a little bit of a time machine or maybe a preview of what was to come in the 80s, but a really cool little Easter egg hidden inside the Franklin's Tower here on this 1977 Grateful Dead concert. Estimated and Eyes are really good, but you know, to me, the value of that Eyes of the World, or the joy of that Eyes of the World, is that it sets up a really astonishing wharf rat. The standout wharf rat on here. You get built up with the Eyes of the World, but then you get knocked right back down in a really powerful way with this wharf rat. And then you get another build up and knocked right back down with part of Terrapin Station. They start Terrapin Station about midway through, which is interesting. Not a very usual choice that they make in this era, but they play a little bit of Terrapin Station, and then that Morning Dew really is fantastic on this release. Sound quality is really great. Like I said, Jeffrey Norman, he always does a great job with these Real Gone releases. I'm just so glad that they're taking these early Dick's Picks releases and giving them the treatment that they deserve. The first 4 Dick's Picks releases, when Brookvale put them out back in the day, were sourced from the CD masters, and I think that's why Real Gone has gone back and has been releasing 1, 2, and 3 over the past few years. This time sourced from the original analog tape, as you can see on the revised caveat emptor on the back of this, mastered for vinyl by Jeffrey Norman. Does a fantastic job. These really do sound fantastic. Really an upgrade from the CD versions, and definitely an upgrade from the original vinyl pressings put out by Brookvale that were sourced from those CD masters. I'm starting to get optimistic that Dick's Picks Volume 4, which is, you know, one of those releases that is a kind of a holy grail release for me, might be getting that Real Gone analog sourced from tape treatment next year. You know, we got 1, 2, and 3. 4 is the logical next step. It only makes sense for that second Real Gone release of 2025, probably going to be Volume 4. Now, I don't know what the first Real Gone Dick's Picks release of 2025 is going to be. It really could be anything, but I think I know what we might be getting around this time next year. And it's interesting too, Dick's Picks Volume 4, you know, those Brookvale releases aren't really regarded as, you know, the best audio quality, but Volume 4 still tends to go for a pretty penny. I think it's usually about $400 or $500 if you buy it on Discogs or if you buy it on eBay. But I saw earlier this week a copy listed as mint of Dick's Picks Volume 4, that Brookvale release from about 10 years ago, went for about $180, maybe $190 on eBay, which is not unreasonable for that 6 LP box set. You know, I would suspect that a Real Gone reissue is probably going to cost about $150 for, you know, a new pressing, but those are, you know, long out of print, the Brookvale versions. So I was surprised the crashing in price of those Brookvale releases, or particularly Dick's Picks Volume 4. Now, I know that this video is coming at you a little bit late. There's been a few other releases. This hit my front step about a month ago, but I was doing a lot of traveling back in November and trying to give this the listens through that it deserves. That we've had since then: Record Store Day, Black Friday. We had another Jerry Garcia release. And so there's a few other things to talk about, trying to get all those videos wrapped before the end of the year, maybe spilling into next year. And there's a few other projects that I have going on that have been taking up a good chunk of my time, and I'm hoping to share that on this channel as well sometime soon. But I want to leave you guys with one question. I mentioned we don't know what that first Real Gone Dick's Picks release of 2025 is going to be. What do you think? Put your guesses down below in the comments, and we'll see who gets it right in a few months when they finally announce via their email newsletter and Instagram post what that next Dick's Picks release is going to be. I don't know if I have a guess yet. I might put my guess down in the comments below as well, and we'll see who's right. But until next time, thank you very much for joining me as I share yet another Grateful Dead vinyl box set. Have a great, happy holidays. Peace.